Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's realm, where the weather is always nice, but especially today. It's a glorious day outside. I've been sitting on my back steps. I took a little video of my little kookaburra friends came to visit me, and there were two when I took the video, but first of all there was only one sitting on the bow watching me avidly, watching Domamati, sitting getting a bit of fresh air and sunshine on my feet and legs. So yes, so it's been a productive day. I had an appointment with my urologist, so I've got to hit the ground running with more tests with that. Dreading it all, but it has to be done. It has to be done. I'm going to get better and better and better. All the alternative is I won't get better, but it has to be done. People have got to deal with things. So gratitude to my benefactor who insisted that I have that appointment. No, I am grateful, but it's a strange thing when people fight for me from the background, and it's I feel cherished and valued and cared about and appreciated and wanted here on this planet by very, very powerful people with the means and the attributes to bring that about. So to you, my handsome, talented one, and to my urologist as well, because I'm a difficult customer. She's going to put me on another drug to trial. Do you want to know what the drug is? This will blow your head back, people of Earth. Cialis, which is a form of Viagra. I hope I don't grow a beard, but anyway, I decided to give it a go because I tried the other two medications and they didn't work on me. And so this is one that I haven't tried yet. And, you can't really, you can't just go around whining, oh, I don't feel well, nothing's working for me, if you don't try every avenue, am I right? And if it works, then I avoid the Botox. They're very expensive, very life-threatening, potentially, Botox. Well, in my opinion, it's life-threatening. I'm sure it's not really, but I just don't like the idea of it. Anyway, so when I have to have a kind of a little operation just to do a little, put a little scope in, have a good look at things, which is excellent and probably should have been done 2 years ago, quite frankly. So now we'll have a good old look at things, which I'm not looking forward to that event, but has to be done. And then after that, we'll know if I'm going to, what it is I'm going to be facing, whether it's better health or the final outcome. However it manifests, it's in the lap of the gods and my doctors and my own stubborn, stoic self. So there is that, people of Earth. Right, enough about talking about medical issues. It's all a bit humbling, quite frankly. I am 60 now. It's all a bit fucking humbling. But, I've been battling with this situation since 2007. So, what's that? 18 years. 18 fucking years I've survived like that. So, is that correct? Yes, it is correct. So I've done well, I've done well. Partly living in denial, partly flogging a dead zombie Mustang Quay horse, partly just putting one foot in front of the other, partly dancing on the weekend wildly and living my best life in spite of everything. Giving myself at least that little bit of exercise each week. And partly just living in some sort of by my side delusional fairy story of my own creating, that I can heal my life and have my beautiful life at long last, which is not so much a fantasy as it used to be. It's getting more positive and uplifting every day because I can see how powerful and strong and determined I am. And if the Cialis works, I'll be dangerous, people of Earth. Anyway, we'll see. We will see. I've got to go off and have some more little testing, urine testing, which is a pain in my ass, but I'll do that tomorrow. I'll go and start that process tomorrow. I've booked an appointment for the ultrasound, so I'm just waiting to hear back. So my video might get interrupted by a phone call from Greenslopes Private Hospital. Maybe they get onto it today. And wheels are rolling and Mama T's rolling forwards as she always does every day in every way, regardless of what happens. I'm quite proud of myself for that. Oh, you should see how glorious the day is, people of Earth. Should I show you? Let's show you, because we've got to enjoy every last moment of every last day. Every day is a new beginning. Blue skies and clouds and beautiful. Did we get flipped off? No. I don't know what that was. Something freaking out. Anyway, there's beautiful sunshine and all the trees, and like I said, had my little communion with the kookaburras. Oh, they love me, those birds. They love me. They just do it in the most quiet way. They just sit there on the tree watching me. This is what they literally look like. There was one in the kitchen window too. Sometimes I almost say, are you even real birds or are you spirits? But it was a real bird. Definitely was a real bird. But anyway, that bird outside my kitchen window, I was on the phone to my handsome, talented, wonderful friend Jared, and that bird was listening in to me chatting to Jared and laughing at things and telling Jared all my latest shenanigans, and yeah, that bird just sat there like it was part of the conversation, like if it could fold its arms it would, just sat there. And I don't know why, but I felt very loved and cherished by that bird. This is how I exist in the world, people of Earth. Tethered to the earth, almost, but not quite at times. And on sacred space with the beautiful birds and the lizards. Yesterday there was a water dragon. Took a photo of him, put him up on Instagram too. He just stared at me like this. He's a bit scared of me, the water dragon. So I took a photo and then I moved to go over to the fairy corner of my garden, and he freaked out and ran away, but not very far, just moved quickly, thinking I was somehow coming to attack him, which I've got no interest in attacking him. He's a water dragon. Thought of a water dragon climbing up my leg or climbing on me freaks me out, so I've got no intention of bothering him in any real meaningful way. I'm wondering if Sybil Serpent, the carpet python, will come back in springtime to shed her skin again. Well, she appeared exactly on the 31st of October, Halloween, which I guess is late spring. So I have a funny feeling she's going to come back, We developed quite an interesting symbiosis. But, I still look at my little YouTube videos of her and me interacting with her. It's quite lovely. Mad, but lovely. My level of madness. Living in harmony with nature as much as I possibly can while I'm still alive, people of Earth. Still alive. So, on that note, let us continue with Chapter 3 of Ghost Stations 2, Paranormal Happenings. Let me just clear my hair out of my ears and clear my thoughts for a moment and breathe sunshine and happiness and success and joy and delight and integration and healing and a little bit of mischief and excitement. Guess what I'm drinking? Don't normally drink that in the middle of my day. Don't normally drink during the week at all, but in honour of the fact that I'm going to spiral down through more medical interventions, which, is a pain but has to be done, I thought I'd have a little drink just to remind me that I can do this life, albeit alone. I can do this life. Right. So let us begin. The paranormal. I did explain that in Chapter 1, and here we look at the paranormal happenings of Gordon West, the sights, sounds and events that he has encountered. To me, the sighting of aircrew is normal and is something which I have had to learn to live with, he said. I feel too that many of those young airmen who died refuse in fact to accept the fact that they are dead and that they still continue to carry on with the war. As for them, it is not in fact over. Kind of a hellscape on repeat, isn't it? Trapped in some kind of lurid, traumatic moment in time, frozen in time that they can't escape from. They need rescue workers to come in and send them all to the light, but these dickheads very rarely think about that. They're so selfish. Send them on into the light so they can have peace and continue on with the reincarnation process, if that's what they want to do, I guess. In short, many of these old airfields are still operational in the world of the paranormal. I'm thinking about that. But let us go back to the beginning. Gordon West was born in 1941 and within a year he was living in Lincoln. His parents were in fact Salvation Army officers and were in the city of Lincoln carrying out their duties. He was taken many times to the Royal Air Force Scampton, and even at this very early age he felt a strong pull towards what was going on. Such a gorgeous day. I'm grateful for this day, people are there. The breeze on my face. Never mind, I mustn't think about what I was moving into thinking about there. I must stay grounded in reality, people of Earth. As a small boy, he used to holiday in Scotland at a place called Rattray Head, where his uncle was the station officer of the Coast Guard station. Shortly after the war had finished, and for many years afterwards, he used to walk around the remains of the airfield, which was some 3 miles from the Coast Guard station. I was always drawn to this airfield, mostly because I am, and always have been, most interested in aircraft, and secondly, I always felt at home when there, and that I was surrounded by friends. These friends, without names, seemed almost more real than my real life friends, he said, and he continued. On many occasions, I would stand inside the unused aircraft hangars and listening to whistling, the sounds of spanners being dropped and used, as well as the sounds of metal making contact. As a small boy, I thought that these sounds could well be heard by everyone. I would hear also the sounds of heavy engines being started and run up to full throttle, and then the sounds of aircraft moving around the perimeter tracks. I would hear very clearly also the sounds of engines as they moved down the runway and then become faint and in the distance. It was many years later, eventually, when I asked some other boys who were with me to be quiet in order that I could try and identify the sounds, that I did in fact realize that others did not always hear the same sounds. It was always my ambition to be a Royal Air Force pilot, but as my parents were on a very low salary, I decided to leave school at the age of 15 and to bring some well-needed money into the house. What a good boy he was. My ambition thus being thwarted. I hate when people get thwarted, don't you? I've been thwarted quite a lot in my life. I'm a bit batshit crazy now. There was far too much thwarting, strangulations and viciousness. Should never ever have been allowed to happen, people obey. But anyway. From being the age of 11, I was always aware of an airman standing and moving around with me. I have one good man in my... Actually, no. I have two good men in my life that I know are good men and have my back. I want to cry when I think about it, but I won't cry because I should be very happy and contented today that someone loves me enough to protect my assets down below, problematic though they might be. Somebody loves me very, very much. Let me read that sentence again. From being the age of 11, I was always aware of an airman standing and moving around with me. I told very few people of this at the time, as once again, to me, this was very normal. Gordon West grew up during the war years. And he became very interested in the men and their flying machines. Sorry, I suddenly feel very emotional. I'm not looking forward to the little operation I have to have. It's a bit of a discomforting one. Can't be a baby about it. I really can't. It has to happen, but by the gods. Well, I slipped fourth base into 60 and I can slip fourth base into whatever paradigm the gods want to place me on to. Right, Now, where was I? Gordon West grew up during the war years and he became very interested in the men and their flying machines. In his early teens, he would save up his pocket money and, as soon as he had 10 shillings, he would be away for a joyride at the local airfield of Scone in Scotland, for at that time he was living in Perth, Scotland, not Western Australia. I had ancestors that hailed from Perth. Had some more ancestors in Scotland that hailed from, I can't remember, it was a funny name. Can't remember what the area was called now. It'll come to me later. Anyway, always, before I entered the control tower at Scone to hand over my money for the flight, the faint but clear outline of an airman would always pass me, walking very briskly, and go into the tower some yards ahead of me, he said. I looked on him, in fact, as a guardian, and well I may, as we had to land on one occasion in a snowstorm after taking off in perfect weather, and as you will appreciate, in a Miles Messenger. We had no radio or windscreen wipers to help us. We were most fortunate to land safely with snow piling up on the wings. My father was with me on this occasion. It was his first and last flight. As a result of his parents' work, Gordon West lived in many parts of England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Many moves and many new houses. But at each new place, his guardian airman has always been with him, as he explains. As a young man of 20, I joined the Huddersfield Fire Brigade as a full-time fireman, and there were many occasions when, in the face of danger, I would be led to safety by my friend, who always seemed to be able to find an escape route when I was unable to see, blinded by smoke or in a very dark area. On many occasions also, when driving a car, my decisions would be made between my unseen friend and myself, thus avoiding an accident. But it was not until I was in my 30s that I did realise that I was psychic. I think he would have figured that out long before that, having a friend that he could see that no one else could see, a protective friend at that, guardian angel. I suppose people don't, they want to be normal and they don't want to think that they have second sight. But what is normal anyway? Everyone's created the way they are, with their own abilities and talents and skills. Some they haven't even realised they have, people of Earth. Nothing like a crisis to bring those out, by the way. But we don't want, we really do not invite, any more crises. I've had quite a few spiritual developments hurled at me on the cold face, and it wasn't pretty, people of Earth. Can do without that. Right, just putting it out there because, my spirit people can hear me. Telling them, be gentle with me, be gentle with me. I'm older now. Can you just be bloody gentle with me? No. Still making me sort through monstrosities, medical, emotional, interrelational. It's awful beyond belief. How long can I continue on like this, people of Earth? How long? How long must this go on, this pernicious, continuous torture? It's Could be Jack Daniels speaking though. It makes me question everything sometimes. Smooth, loving, sweet southern man. Yeah, babies. Smooth and drinky goose for the day. Don't need any more. Quite contented. Didn't need it in the first place, but just felt like it. Sometimes you just feel like it. Well, you know, it's fragile having to go through all these medical interventions to save my goddamn life. Get my health in order. Please God it works this time. Literally, please God, Goddess, whoever's running this multiverse. Is there anyone running the multiverse? Or is it just the I and the thou and our own sweet, stubborn determination to exist and to thrive, babies? I don't know why, but I look quite well oxygenated today. Almost look attractive. I mean, you know, my version of attractive. A 60-year-old woman. It's odd, isn't it? It's a bit odd. I'll probably look at this video in a month's down the track and go, you look like hell, Tanya. Why did you think you look attractive, you mad cow? Sometimes I have these little sweet little delusions. Whatever gets you through your day, am I right? Anyway, in all seriousness, let us continue with this story. You have to laugh. It's just me just being weird and circumspect. Right, he had not realised that he was psychic. This, in fact, came as a surprise to me, as I had thought in my younger days that the appearance of airmen as well as others was, in fact, normal. Many has been the occasion when my life, as well as the life of others, has been saved, when I have been pushed in the back and moved out of a potentially dangerous situation. Yes, like falling forwards out of an academy bus and being lifted in the air and turned back 180 degrees on your fucking feet in your very exclusive Spanish stilettos, Spanish leather stilettos, which were ivory and shell pink. And I landed back on my high heels without doing any major injury, apart from a slight sprain in my left ankle. Something supernatural saved me that day too. So I can attest to that. Been saved quite a few times in my life. Woman who almost died 15 times. I should count the last one, but it's getting boring now. Enough is enough. How many life situations can I come back from? There will come a time when it will be the last time. Oh, what sweet release that will be. Anyway, in 1982, Gordon Best and his family moved into Lincolnshire, and it brought back many memories of his childhood days. And his first visit was to his old house in Lincoln, only to find his house had been bulldozed away. Only the memories remain. He stood alone, deep in his thoughts. This man likes to use ellipses a lot, which is fine, but mildly irritating. I must remind myself not to use too many ellipses in my writing. I tend to be an ellipser too. Interesting. He stood alone, deep in his thoughts. But he was far from being alone, as he recalls. This time, my friend, the airman, was as real to see as a normal person. On this time around, he gave his name as Bell, Squadron Leader Bell. After that, he was always making an appearance, and his trouble always seemed to me to be the same. He was afraid of fire, and in fact, this became catching as I too developed a fear of fire, which was strange, as I had been in the fire service. Also, he would go to very great lengths to explain to me that he was having some trouble with his parachute and harness. On occasions he would, in fact, become very aggressive when I just stood and tried to understand just what he was saying. I always knew when he would appear, as I would be aware that the temperature would drop and it would in fact become very, very cold. As time went on, his appearance would herald the start of a very strong wind force, so strong in fact that on some 7 occasions I was thrown for many yards, and on 3 occasions I was knocked to the ground, resulting in heavy bruising. It's an unusual way for a spirit to make an entrance, wind and knocking people to the ground. This gentleman, who was new to me, would appear at least once every 2 weeks. On these occasions, I would be walking in woods, in the Woodhall Spa area, or for that matter, near to the Royal Air Force Coningsby. The venue for the gentleman's appearances seemed to be anywhere in the county of Lincolnshire. It's probably where he perished, or where he was based, or where he grew up. Could be any reason why he stayed in that area, but anyway. We have a dachshund dog. Yes, I say it the German way, I know. But dachshund just sounds weird. Sorry. It's the only thing I'm a stickler about. Saying German words the correct way. We have a dachshund dog. And he did in fact suffer a change of personality if he was present with me when this particular gentleman appeared. The dog would go black in colour and would in fact launch himself into the air in a most aggressive way. As you well know, a dachshund, in our case, is red in colour, and you do not need me to tell you that it is no mean feat for a dachshund to reach one's throat, as their legs, to say the very least, are very small. So much for the aggressive airman. He did cause a lot of mischief and problems, but fortunately most do not. In actual fact, they can be a very real help. In May 1983, Gordon West took his family on a visit to Royal Air Force Scampton. For Gordon, it was the first time that he had returned since the war years. So the memories came flooding back as he drew up outside the guard room. And he takes up the story. After looking around the Lancaster at the main gate, we were taken to Nigger's grave. Our dachshund, who loves car riding, was of course in the car, where he is always most happy to be. He can be left for hours in the car if necessary. Why would you do that? The damn animal needs to pee, for the love of all the gods. don't know who that person was. Anyway. But as soon as we arrived by Nigger's grave, he became most upset. I'm assuming Nigger is a family pet or a relative or somebody. Anyway, I don't like that word. Don't like that word at all. Can you see why I'm already annoyed having to repeat it repetitively? It's probably a cat or something though. Maybe. He became most upset to the point that he was throwing himself around the car and was in fact throwing himself at the windows of the car. My fear was that he would damage himself. I asked the flight lieutenant who was showing us round if I could move the car. It was only when I did so that our dog returned to his normal behaviour. He was in a state of distress and was completely exhausted. To this day, if we use the word nigger, he will make to go to our car. But he doesn't explain who the hell nigger was. Was that the nickname for the airman? The atmosphere at Scampton on that occasion was to me just like ice, and my wife and daughter looked very uneasy. My wife is not usually too tuned into atmospheres, but this time she most certainly was. I did in fact consider that we were most fortunate to be at Scampton at the time, as I was later told that the former 617 members were unable to look around as the AOC was doing an inspection at the time of the anniversary. I looked up to Guy Gibson's office on this occasion to see the outline of a face appear and then swiftly move away. After a most interesting visit, we returned home to Woodhall Spa. I'm very happy with his earrings. That's why I keep looking so distracted, I know. But the vintage earrings that probably came out of my mother's market stock originally. But I made a new little sterling silver hooks for them and new little jump rings, and they sit better because they weren't done properly initially. Probably my mother with her dementia, even she's making odd mistakes. So yes. Anyway, we've got a second life or a third life now because I'm wearing them now with new earring hooks that I made them, and they sit better and they hang better. Very happy about that. Not a total misfit, you know, people of Earth. My enemies. Fuck you, by the way. Yes, I said that out loud on YouTube. Right, where was I? I can achieve things, albeit slowly and painfully and torturedly, but I can achieve things. I want to finish off that cuff and achieve that, but I'm waiting for the thicker bezel sheet to arrive. Well, the sheet that I'm going to cut the bezel from, and I'm going to have to pray that it works next time, because if it doesn't, I'll have wasted quite a large sum of money. Well, large for me sum of money by my standards. I'm determined to make that bloody bracelet, people of Earth. I'm determined, and I realise that the fine silver sheet I've got is just too thin. It's not going to even hold the stone in place properly. Even if I did get it to solder down, it's going to tear too easily. So that was a waste of nearly $200. Oh no, that was $93. it's not really wasted because I'll just melt it down with some silver that's only 825, and then that'll bring it up to sterling hallmark and perfect. It's got to be perfect. Might make a ring later actually. Do some casting. I enjoy casting. I really do, especially when it works. But anyway, I might actually do that, but not today. I'm still tired from all the stress of failing constantly in the last week. So I'm reading stories on YouTube instead. Costs me nothing and fills up my day. And I enjoy reading new stories people with. Dear goddess. Well, anyway, little measures of success. I looked up to Guy Gibson's office on this occasion to see the outline of a face appear and then swiftly move away. After a most interesting visit, we returned home to Woodhall Spa. Such a beautiful day. I should go out. Maybe I should go to the movies or something. You know, to the cinema. Sit in a dark room watching a movie. I could stay home and watch movies for. Well, it's not free because you pay for Netflix and Prime, which I hardly even look at the Prime. I should cancel that actually. What shall I do, people? Finish the story and then the world is wasted. Not many days after, on the evening of the 16th of May 1983, I decided to go to Royal Air Force Scampton and to be there at 9:28 p.m, the precise time that the first wave took off on the dam's raid. I did this in the main as I did feel that the whole world was thinking about the raid and that the main attentions were being placed at Marhan in Norfolk, where the present 617 Squadron were entertaining the former 617 members. I felt sad that Scampton, where it all happened, seemed to be getting no attention. The night of 16th of May 1983 was a rather wet, damp and cold night, and after driving 25 miles to Lincoln from Woodhall Spa, I decided to park the car at the far end of Scampton. I felt this was where I should be stood. It was not for some time later that I did in fact discover that I had been standing exactly under the path which was taken on the takeoff that night so many years ago. As it was cold, I decided to leave the engine running on my car. This, I thought, would keep the car warm for my journey home. At exactly 9:28 p.m, the area in which I was standing froze. I mean, froze. I have not the slightest doubt in my mind that what I heard was the roar of Merlin engines. The Merlins ran across the field on over to where I was standing. I stood looking at the very low cloud base, thinking how different the weather was on the night of the 16th of May 1943, when it was reported that the evening was very warm. So warm that Wing Commander Guy P. Gibson flew in his shirt sleeves. The noise of the Merlin engines turned back over the airfield and over towards the city of Lincoln. I then sat inside my car, which was by this time like a fridge, and noticed that my temperature gauge was showing blue for cold. In actual fact, my Talbot Horizon tended to overheat slightly when left running and stationary, so it was very strange. As soon as I had moved the car, the needle immediately returned to normal, and I had the very great pleasure of feeling heat return. Interesting. That night I was unable to sleep, as I was very restless, and my daughter did complain to me the very next morning that I was talking in my sleep, and that I had kept on about bomb load, fuel consumption, etc. But that was not the end of the mystery. In fact, the mystery was only to deepen when Gordon's parents paid them a visit, and he suggested that they all have a run out in the car to RAF Scampton. They all thought it was a splendid idea and set off for the one-time home of the dam busters. Without thinking, I parked at exactly the same spot, as this was before the Red Arrows made their home at Scampton, and the yellow lines were not as yet painted, he said. As I was parking the car, I was explaining to my mother about what had happened on my previous visit, when exactly the same thing happened again. My mother, sensing the change in atmosphere, thanked me for bringing her to Scampton and promptly asked me to move the car on. As I did so, I saw in my driving mirror the look of relief on her face. So, has Gordon West the power to unlock the time zone? There are many, many things which we cannot understand, he said. That is very true. And he added, I have only to drive past the main gate of Ludford Magna to feel the atmosphere come alive. These I would call paranormal happenings, and when I asked Gordon West how he felt about it all, he said, I do find that as time moves on, these feelings become much stronger and not weaker with the passing of time. As we become more psychic as we age, people of Earth. You young whippersnippers out there, expect that to happen. It comes as a great shock initially, and then you realise it's because I'm over 40, innit? That's why the Kabbalists didn't teach Kabbalah to the rabbis until they were at least 40 years old. You just become more attuned to the multiverse. Right, where were we? And he added, apart from seeing airmen on the various airfields, it is also possible, excuse me, I need to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. It is also possible, I have found, on many occasions, to be occasionally hit or struck by something or someone trying to attract your attention. Sometimes these blows can be so severe that they can knock you over or leave you without your breath. Events of the paranormal can be either most pleasing or disturbing. I do feel that the whole subject of the paranormal relating to the many old airfields in Lincolnshire should be studied very closely as a science. Now the book is in print, someone might take up the idea to study the paranormal as a science, but for me, I think it is beyond the scope of science. I will just give you time to regain your composure after setting the scene and give you time to pour another drink of Sandeman port, which is clearly his tipple, not mine, before we go into battle, ghost hunting. And we start our ghost hunting with Ghost Watch. So, are you sitting tight? Chapter 4, Ghost Watch. You just see how long this chapter is. So it's a dreadfully long one. I'll have to split us up, people of Earth. Probably about another hour or so, hour and a half. Right, we'll carry on, people of Earth. What else am I going to do with my day? I could be doing dusting and polishing. What needs to happen actually? It does need to happen, especially in my bedroom. It's full, and the back studio. It's anarchy and chaos. But not today. Not today. Maybe later. See, I have to drive myself like a bus sometimes. Motivate myself to do things. Keep going. Right. It's good that I live alone. I don't have to impress anyone, isn't it? And you know, when Rati comes, she does the bathroom and the floor, so the very basics get done. I just need to do the dusting and the polishing. Could do with washing down the windows again. I don't know how things get so damn dirty when I don't actually do all that much. By the gods. Anyway, I live in a rather quite hot climate, so dust and grime is a thing, people of Earth. Ghost Watch, Chapter 4. On Saturday, 31st of October, which is Halloween, 1987, Radio Lincolnshire linked up with 3 East Midlands BBC local radio stations for a 3-hour programme called Ghost Watch. From 10 o'clock on the Saturday night until 1 o'clock the following morning. Dennis McCarthy hosted the programme from the supposedly haunted cellar in the Hippo Club, Bridlesmith Gate, Nottingham. Oh, that's where my lovely neighbour, well, a few streets down, comes from, Nottingham. From the start, Dennis did make it clear that there were no gimmicky voices and that the programme was live. The 3 selected reputedly haunted sites were the Hippo Club in Nottingham, the Malt Shovel in Derby, and an airfield in Lincolnshire. As a military historian, I was the expert in Lincolnshire. Just before 10 o'clock in the evening, it was announced that it was time to join Dennis McCarthy and East Midlands Ghost Watch. We now join the programme. Dennis McCarthy. Welcome to Ghost Watch in the East Midlands. Perhaps for the first time, BBC Radio is covering a large part of England in a live programme looking for a ghost. This programme is not intended to raise any spirit or ghost. We are not going to have a séance. In fact, we don't need to, because they just pop in whenever they feel like after a while. Well, mine do anyway. Very naughty discordant and boundaryless at times. That's why you hear me yelling at them to go back to the light when they start oppressing me. Anyway, where was I? We are not going to have a séance. In fact, I am sure that everyone taking part would be against anyone organising a séance or dabbling with the supernatural. Not against it, but it's something you have to be very, very cautious with. You've got to know what you're doing. To do that is dangerous, I concur. But to talk about the subject might be healthy and might even get rid of some of the fears behind ghosts, because there are very few reports anywhere of any ghosts doing any physical harm to anyone. No, they leave that to the demons. They can be rather vicious. That's why you don't do séances, because you don't know who you're going to bring through, people of Earth. There's some real nasty buggers out there. Some of them are in human form too. Just remember that. Know who you're dealing with at any given time. We cover the East Midlands in this program. Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire. Dennis McCarthy then invited listeners to phone in with their ghost stories and went on to say that the East Midlands is a rich area for ghosts. The program came from the cellar of the Hippo Club, where at various times ghosts have been seen in period costume. It is in fact close to a Civil War battle area, and one of the sightings reported was of a figure in a cavalier uniform. Many strange happenings have been recorded at the Hippo, which has been reputed to be haunted for a long, long time. With Dennis McCarthy in the cellar was an unusual panel of experts. Lee Lacey, a Nottingham medium, Chris Skye, a white witch, Diane Laverwick, a psychic investigator, and Canon John Finney, an advisor in evangelism in the Diocese of Southwell. Yes, I do look very good today. My skin almost looks quite clear. I wonder what flow is that, people of Earth. There's a few ridges over there, isn't there? Oh, well, that'll be from the CPAP mask. Anyway, we're having a good day today, people of Earth. The mama tea has one good day. And my bladder's giving me hell, actually. Had a bad night, 4 nights. It's been irritated all day. But apart from that, I look fucking fabulous. Various shades of grey. Death becomes her, but fabulous. I need some man when I can be fabulous all by myself and not give a fuck. Not letting any fuckheads try and fuck me over either. That's why I look fabulous. Rage and defiance and rebellion gets my blood boiling and juiced up, but not in that kind of way that you're thinking of, gentlemen of Earth. It's nothing like standing in your own light and authority and owning your own power. Baby boys and baby girls. Right, where was I? Just felt the need to say that, I don't know why. Just blew through like a random missive from a multiverse. I'm a wonderful woman, though. Some of you have not realised that, and I can't help you with that. It's all subjective, people of Earth. All very subjective. Those who love me for the right reasons, and those who don't, also probably for the right reasons. So it is what it is. The haunted location in Lincolnshire was the old wartime airfield of Fiskerton. For security reasons, the location was not announced over the air at the start of the programme. Radio Lincolnshire had, in fact, received a couple of threatening calls, so it was decided to keep the location secret. I wonder why they did that. It's just odd, isn't it? There's always some loony out there trying to ruin everyone's fucking life. Always. Anyway, where were we, people of Earth? However, many people still turned up on the night after working out the location from my book. I selected the old Fiskerton airfield. Any would have done, but this gave good reception without having to work from a mobile car. During the war, the airfield had two main squadrons, numbers 49 and 576. The latter flew 2,788 operational sorties and lost 67 aircraft. That's a lot of aircraft. But let's be real here. It's very expensive losses. It's a bit like my fine silver losses, isn't it? Also, Fiskerton was one of 15 airfields equipped with FIDO, Fog Investigation Dispersal Operation. Many ghostly happenings stemmed from the airfield. Norman Pepper was learning to drive on the old runways when suddenly a World War II Jeep swept past with its cargo of ghostly aircrew. The old control tower was haunted, and the Royal Observer Corps building is haunted, so an obvious choice. Here's the old wartime runway that is still haunted to this day. Oh gosh. With the Radio Lincolnshire radio car was Andy Smith, the reporter who opened our location. Andy Smith. Yes, Dennis, it's very bleak here. The cloud cover is very low, mist around everywhere. It's damp, horrible underfoot. Just listen to this, having to tread through here. But so far, nothing has happened. I will just describe where I am. As you say, I am in the middle of an airfield, way over the other side, I guess about 300 to 400 yards. There is a dim light, where it is rumoured that perhaps a jeep, an old RAF jeep, may suddenly come across the airfield and pass by the radio car, which has its mast firmly up in the air, very obvious target. To one other side, lights glittering in the distance. If I look in another totally different direction, a few trees, again, visibility is very bad. So you could say that we have got the right eerie atmosphere for some quite interesting activities to happen on Halloween night. Now I have a few guests with me here who will be analysing any suspected ghost or psychic powers. Man can't spell psychic, dear goddess. Anyway, which might suddenly appear. We have Bruce Barrymore Halfney, who is an author and RAF ghost expert, and also John Turner, and he is secretary of the Lincolnshire Psychic Society, spelled correctly that time. Andy Smith. Now I have to admit, John, that I have never seen a ghost, and I have never been involved in any sort of psychic powers at all, so I really am a disbeliever. But do you think you can convince me otherwise? John Turner. Well, I just hope that something happens. Something decides to manifest, so that you will be convinced. But, of course, obviously without it, I don't think you are going to be. As a medium, John Turner said that he would sense it first, probably before we would see it. In fact, you may not even see it, he said. As stated in Chapter 1, many mediums have this is his verbiage, people there, Red Indian spirit guide. By that he means a Native American spirit guide. And John tells me that the name of his spirit guide is Running Bear. I am informed that he was the son of a Cherokee Indian chief, and he lived from 1770 to 1792. Died awfully young, only 22. He died from a chest infection, and John added, he was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. After the initial introduction, Andy Smith passed back to Dennis McCarthy, and it was interesting to hear him say, I'm very interested in haunted airfields, or the possibility of haunted airfields. My own theory about it is that an airfield, particularly a wartime airfield, is a very emotive place, full of emotion. The men during wartime would make a flight, and it was always said that after one flight over enemy territory, they were living on borrowed time. So their emotions would really be very strong. Do you think this might well create the environment, Lee Lacey, for a haunted airfield? Lee Lacey answered that it could be, and he did say that he had not experienced a haunted airfield. He then said that whilst in the army, at a depot at Northamptonshire, men did report seeing a headless ghost on the railway lines. He explained that it was a worker who had had an accident and had been decapitated by a railway carriage. How fucking ghastly would have that been? Dear goddess. Lee Lacey went on to say that he had a case about a gentleman who reported in about an airman who was walking back one night after a night flight and, seeing an officer, saluted him, but when he got back he found out that his plane had come down and that he had died a few hours before. Lacey said he could not explain it. I would say that it could be that what he was sensing, he was maybe a little bit more psychic than he thought. He was sensing he was seeing a spirit, ghost, maybe different thing. The third Ghost Watch location was in the reputed haunted cellar of the Malt Shovel Public House in Shardlow, which is very close to the River Trent and Mersey Canal. The ghost there is Humphrey, and legend has it that it is the ghost of a tramp, that means a homeless person, who was reputedly drowned in a vat by a foreman of the maltings way back in the 1700s. How fucking nasty was that? Honestly, people, humans, awful. The public house was built in 1799, but the ghost did not appear until the early 1960s. After major alterations had been carried out. The ghost was first seen by a young man working on the new alterations, and it has been seen by the present landlord, Peter Harrison. He was in the cellar at the time. Why are you nagging me to go to West End? I don't want to go to West End. I'm reading stories. Leave me alone. Honestly. Sorry, they popped in just then. He was in the cellar at the time, and he thought it was a customer. He asked if he could help, and with that it vanished before his eyes. Stop moving sinuously around me like you're some kind of giant snake either. He's a snake too in Chinese astrology, so that's kind of freaking me out. Anyway, just behave yourself. Go back to the light, Davidson. Nobody invited you. Honestly, it's a pain in my ass sometimes. It's probably why I can't ever have a lover of my own. He's probably cock-blocking me with his malicious envy and spite still to this day. Let's do an exorcism, shall we? Jared, let's just digress. Jared bought me this for my birthday. This was the oracle card that came out that he picked, and it's so accurate because it describes me to a T. What's your honest truth? Mama T lives on by her truth, and she dies by her truth if she has to. Mullein and sage to call my soul fragments back and protect myself. Oh, it smells. Oh, it smells actually quite lovely. And then he bought me this lovely protection spell kit with rosemary and coconut oil and little obsidian stone, and mistletoe. So behave, Davidson, because I have the power to send you right back where you came from. And not in a good way. Not through your mother's womb. Just back and back and back for eternity, my father. There's a reason why I allow him around. I'm not sure what the reason is. Because I didn't allow him access to me for a very, very long time. He died in 2016. He had no access to me for 16 years prior to that. Not quite sure why I allow him to engage with me. He's yelling out, it's for your highest good. No, it's not. It's just because you're obsessed and haven't let go. You should have moved on by now, Davidson. Go and annoy your wife and 3 children. Piss off. Honestly. You have to laugh. It's a bit odd. Anyway. No, I can't communicate with you right now. Go away. I'm busy. No intention of communicating with you today. I'm already a bit tired and drained. I'm not going to suck my energy like a vampire. Right. Where were we? Let me just rewind back to the beginning of that paragraph when I got rudely interrupted by Devo David again. The public house was built in 1719. He loves you. Oh, go away with your nonsense. That man doesn't love me. He's, how did my psychiatrist put it? He's a performative narcissist. He loves only himself. This is true, people there. Right. The public house was built in 1799, but the ghost did not appear until in the early 1960s. Freaking out. Why would he freak out? He's busy with his new lady he loves. He's got no interest in me, trust me on that one. You see how he tries to almost demonically play with my fragile little mind? It's not so fragile, so it blows up in his face. Every time, motherfucker. Used to do this when he was alive, by the way. Test me and find out that I was much sharper than he gave me credit for. And those were in the bad days when I was under the hefty influence of psychotropic, psychiatric medication. I still managed to forge my way through all that gigantic fucking fog. I can forge my way through anything, people of Earth. Yells out, yes you can. He kind of admires and respects me in a way. Like all my enemies, they learn over time to fucking admire and respect me. Because when you fuck with the Tanya, you've fucked with the wrong woman. Just saying. Come in clean and clear, no harm, no foul. Falling in love with Egypts with no real, pure, decent, honouring intentions towards me. Playing some fucked up psyop game in service of their masters or mistresses or whoever's pulling their little puppet strings. That's fine, but don't ever pull my strings. Ever. Ever. I grew up with the ultimate fucking puppet masters. Survivors of an actual life-threatening regime on a daily basis who then perpetuated their own life-threatening behaviours on me. So, sorry, but you have to wake up very early in the morning to intimidate me, mofos. Don't ever wake me up early in the morning, by the way, unless I choose to wake up. By the gods, is a metaphor for life, just another line. Right, where was I? The ghost was first seen. I mean, you have to laugh how I slip in and out of these interruptions with that dead maniac. After I love you too, yes, well, I don't. You love me from a spiritual perspective, as in a discarnate being out in the void. It's the only kind of love he's capable of, actually. Anyway, where was I? I'm not actually angry with you anymore, Davidson. You were a misfit and a bloodless cur, a coward and a dog, but I'm not actually angry with you anymore. I'm done. It's all too boring. Go back to the light. The ghost was first seen by a young man working on the new alterations, and it has been seen by the present landlord, Peter Harrison. He was in the cellar at the time. We're going to fix your bladder. Yeah, you might just fix me permanently, people of Earth. I'm well aware. Could be how I end. I'm well aware. Anyway, we all die, and eventually our time comes. So I've made peace with that. He was in the cellar at the time and he thought it was a customer. He asked if he could help, and with that it vanished before his eyes. Why are you hanging around? Excuse me, woman. Why are you hanging around? Don't run your fingers up and down my spine like the old black magic either. Oppressing me? He's oppressing me. I won't tell you what he just said, it's very cheeky. He was in the cellar at the time and he thought, oh no, we read that. He asked if he could help, and with that it vanished before his eyes. The landlord's wife has also seen the ghost. In fact, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. You know that's a lie. And I know that's a lie, and the gods know that's a lie. Don't feed me lies and deception and false hopes. Thank you. Right, where were we? The landlord's wife has also seen the ghost. In fact, she was woken at about 1 o'clock in the morning with a voice calling her name. She awoke to see a shape looming over the bed. The dog that usually sleeps in the bedroom had gone. At the time there were workmen working and staying overnight, and legend has it that the ghost only appears when alterations are being done. Yes, they don't like the changes to how they remember the building or their home to look like. You want to upset a ghost? Do alterations. Dennis McCarthy did ask Canon Finney if it was right to do this program, for he did say that they had been criticised for doing it. Canon Finney did say that there were dangers in ghost hunting. Dennis then asked him the $64,000 question. Why $64,000? I don't understand it. Are there ghosts? Canon Finney. There are many odd things that happen. Whether there are ghosts, I wouldn't want to ask what a ghost is, to be frank. For more than things being seen are things being felt or heard than an actual figure of a man wandering around the tower with his head under his arm is a very, very rare beast indeed. And to be frank, I have never come across anything of that kind. Do not even dream in your worst nightmare of pulling that stunt. Do you know what he just said to me? I'll prove that I'm real. I'll fully manifest. He doesn't have the power. He's bluffing. He's bluffing, people of it. I know he's bluffing. He's stirring me up today, and I want to know why. Why today are you stirring me up, Davidson? Almost comical. Almost comical. Do you want me to light the sage and do a full-blown exorcism? It's probably long past due, actually. I should have done it 3 months ago. I was being haunted by a living man. Disingenuously stirring me up too. Sad asses. Anyway, love is the law, baby boys and baby girls. True love. True love is the ultimate weapon in defence, in psychic, spiritual, emotional, mental, intellectual defence. True, real, enduring love. They can't handle it. They slink away like bloodless curs. It's the equivalent of throwing holy water on them. They can't handle it, people of Earth. I know that for a fact. Right. There is no classic location. It actually got hotter behind me. Just turn the temperature up ever so slightly. I think that's his way of confirming that what I said just then is a truism in the spiritual world. Yes, indeed it is. There is no classic location for sighting a ghost. No, there isn't. I had ghosts. Well, I didn't see them. I didn't see them with my naked eye. But I had a ghost haunt me once when I was living in the house in Logan Lee, 92 Hague Road. I was in the ensuite, sitting on the loo. On the loo, people. Knickers down around my ankles, going about my business, my necessary ablutions. When a packet of 9 rolls of toilet paper that I had sat in the middle of the floor but had not unpacked and put away in the bathroom cabinet was still sitting on the floor. Brand new packet. 9 rolls. 9 rolls. Rectangular shape. Quite heavy. 9 rolls. Levitated in the air by itself. Just touching one corner still on the ground, but the rest lifted up as if some unseen hand was lifting it while I was sitting on the loo. Can you imagine the dreadful fright I got? So I am yelling at this discarnate being. So how dare you? How dare you? He was still alive, so it wasn't him. It was back in 2019. When was I still living in that house? 1999 to 2000. Can't remember exactly, but it was in that period. So how dare you? How dare you should make your presence known while I'm sitting in a vulnerable state on the toilet? You fucking pervert, I said. Get out of my house. Get out right now. Anyway, my 2 daughters came running from the other end of the house, heard me yelling at this entity. What's going on, Mum? I said, the toilet paper just levitated on its own. What? I said, that's why I'm yelling at some spirit. I said, Mama was sitting on the loo with the knickers around her ankles. I hate being predated on or stalked or peeping tomed when I'm vulnerable on the loo. There's a history of that, people of Earth, when I was a child, living people in my family. So you want to send me into paroxysms of blind fucking homicidal fury, you pull that stunt. Well, no normal human being would be so filthy and debased, would they? So let's face it, probably was him in the spirit world, probably had died or something. A creep. But anyway, got screamed at. My daughters came running. Mummy, Mummy, Mummy. I said, don't worry, it will go. It will never do that, ever again. It didn't. Got the message loud and clear. However, when I used to lie on that, I had a mattress on the floor in those days. Yes, I was that poor. And so I'd be lying on my bed, on my mattress on the floor, and I'd feel something jump onto my bed, onto the mattress. And it was one of my dead cats. And how I know was it would jump on and then curl up, and you'd see the indentation of the cat's little body and how they leave an indentation in the doona, or the duvet. It was a very active house. I had lots of dead cats, and that would have been a human spirit lifting the toilet paper up in my loo. Rude. Very, very fucking rude. Oh, the other thing that happened in that house was I had this beautiful hand-painted plate of a fairy, and it knocked it off the wall and smashed it, which I turned it into a mosaic on one of my big stepping stone shaped like feet. It's preserved to this day as a stepping stone, but I was very upset that they broke that plate. That was most unnecessary too. But that's what spirits will do to get your attention, to let you know that they're around, weird shit like that. Anyway, he's yelling out, I broke your Aries plate. Yes, I know it was you. I know you broke that. It was a very valuable plate, you bastard. Can't be replaced. I know it was you. How I knew we were both Aries. You picked that plate of all the plates to push off the bloody hutch dresser. You picked that one. I knew immediately it was a pain in my ass that he is. Should have sent you back to Gehenna permanently for that trick too. Fortunately, he hasn't broken any more stuff after that, because there was a lot of yelling and screaming about that by the gods. People, not things. Yes, but it doesn't count when you're a spirit, does it? Anyway, where was I? We're people too, he yells out. You used to be a person. You used to have a body. Right, where were we? There is no classic location for sighting a ghost, and there certainly isn't a rule which says that sightings are always, for example, at night and in deserted houses, said Dennis. Individuals reporting encounters with what they believe are spiritual ghosts in a host of situations. Well, Sir James Douglas appeared beside my bed. It was in the evening. It was night time, but it wasn't late at night. I was in bed early because I had a mild fever and wasn't feeling all that well. So I went to bed just to, just to relax. And I had my laptop on my bed in front of me, and I was reading or looking at some show. I actually think I was looking at a podcast or something, or a show, when I actually sensed the presence beside me. And I felt there was a presence, and then I turned my head and got such a shock to see him standing there. And then I looked back at my laptop. I thought, well, if I look at my laptop, then I'll know if I'm hallucinating and I'm imagining it, and it will disappear. And when I look back, it'll be gone. So I looked at my laptop, which was slightly to the right of me, and I counted to 10. And then I looked back, he was still there, and I was like, right, can't be imagining it if he's still standing there waiting for me to acknowledge him. People of Earth. That was a very trippy experience. Very trippy indeed. Anyway, I've told you this story a million times, but it's just that moment, that counting to 10, and the shock to see that he was still there. I realised I'm actually seeing this spirit, this energy, this entity. Dennis then gave an example of two ladies who saw a ghost in a supermarket in Berwick-upon-Tweed. It was just a black outline, shaped like a man, but no bottom half to it. Just a black shape which then disappeared, said one of the ladies. I wonder why he didn't have a bottom half. Guess couldn't fully manifest. The lights were full on in the supermarket, so it was not a lighting problem. And there was nothing that could have cast a shadow like that. Both ladies saw it. The manager said, by the looks of her, she did see something, for she was as white as a sheet. Armed with the possibility that the supermarket might be haunted, the manager investigated it further. A local historian then informed him that years ago the supermarket area used to be a public hanging yard. By the gods. You hear of mediums and so forth seeing things. I'm beginning to go along with it now, said the supermarket manager. So with the scene set, and after further stories from listeners, Dennis came back to the Lincolnshire location, my location. Just pulled on my flower. Stop touching me. You're not allowed to touch me. Yes, I used to like you touching me, but that was eons ago, and that time has long since passed. Just behave yourself. Dennis McCarthy. We are going back, I think, to our airfield, somewhere in Lincolnshire, and I rather think that our reporter there has got another guest. You know, the odd thing is my wound is really hurting today. It's stinging, burning. Stinging and burning, people there. There's no sign of infection, it's just stinging and burning. Right. Andy Smith responding to him saying we've got another guest. Andy Smith. Indeed we have, Dennis. Not very haunted here at the moment, but things could change. My guest is Bruce Barrymore Halfpenny. He is an author and RAF ghost expert. So reveal all about this airfield. Is it really haunted? Well, yes, I think every airfield is actually. There was so much tragedy that took place during the war years, and when we look back, Bomber Command alone lost 55,000 aircrew. They were killed in the air and have no known graves. Excuse me. So there are a lot of earthbound spirits. If you want to say, are still on the airfields. He says, same in Israel too. That would be the case. Too many bloody wars. So much tragedy took place, and every airfield has its ghosts, some more than others. There has been many sightings here, and most of the buildings are now demolished. The control tower, when it was here, many sightings and sounds were heard in the old building. On the airfield quite recently, the Jeep that you mentioned previously, there are noises that most of the time sounded like a Merlin engine, which many times, in the still of an evening when there is no breeze. So yes, very haunted. Don't tell me lies, David, please. Go back to your original source, wherever you came from. I don't want to hear your lies. Andy Smith. Now you have checked through all these facts thoroughly, do you think that there is a pattern to the evidence that comes up from time to time? The evidence that is there, I don't think any of them are out to cause mischief. They are there to draw attention to themselves. There is this earthbound spirit, and this is what it is all about. It is not always necessary to see the spirit or ghost or whatever, but the presence is there. Bruce, this is Dennis. Can you hear me? Yes, very clear. Dennis McCarthy. Pardon me. You made a most interesting recording on a haunted airfield. That used to be true, Davidson, but you're blowing smoke up my ass now. Stop it while you... funny things you say. Very funny. Anyway, I'm trying to tune him out because he's got no business being here right now reading stories to you, YouTube audience. So just focus with the task at hand. Have you noticed he always pops in about the 1 hour 20-minute mark? Must be when my brain starts to get tired or something like that. Reach some kind of rhythm, delta rhythm or something. It's very distracting though, isn't it? For you as well as for me, people of Earth. I love you, he yells out. Man has no reference to that word at all. He was utterly demonic when he's alive, and now he's just a pesky little fly that is dead. Dennis McCarthy. I know where you're buried, motherfucker. I would not be pissing me off right now. Just saying. It's a long way from here, but I'll make the trip out one day. He says, okay, I'll behave. He was actually spiritually bound by me for 16 fucking years. Bound. So he couldn't cause me any damage when he was still alive. I'm not trying to damage you, Tanya. Jury's still out on that one. Dennis McCarthy. I'm really not, he says. Have to roll my eyes at that one. You made a most interesting recording on a haunted airfield, and we have the recording standing by. I would like you to tell us where it is and introduce the recording so that we can hear it and get a proper explanation from you. Yes, this was done at Bircham Newton in the squash court under supervised conditions. A lot of people were there. No jiggery-pokery. I would not be interested to do that. That could easily be arranged, but this is perfectly true. The tape was set up, and there were 2 or 3 recordings made. Many times they did not work. This particular tape was set up, and the people were very, very frightened and did not stay in the squash court. They switched it on and came out, and we now hear the tape that I have. The chilling tape was then played over the airwaves. Unearthly noises, just like people working in a wartime hangar. There's a refraction, what looks like a light coming off a crystal on the book, and it's obviously coming from that behind me, but it's just weird that it's refracting from over there. But anyway, it's all good. That's science, not ghosts or spirits this time. I then went on to explain that only the tape recorder picked up those noises. No one there that night heard them. No aircraft were in the area. And let us remember, it was recorded in a squash court, not in a hangar. Getting a bit hungry too. There were no metallic objects in the squash court. With my second book well on the way, and time zone theory, I did not mention that, for I was still working on it. But it is clear that the tape recorder had picked up sounds from the past. Dennis McCarthy came back to say that medium Lee Lacey wanted a word with me. Lee Lacey. There are a couple of points. The thing that is disturbing me a little bit about this, Dennis, is that the implication is that all these things are supernatural noises and things. It sounded like old bear crates rolling around to me. But the thing that bothers me is the statement earlier that all airfields are haunted, which is the biggest rubbish, absolute rubbish, where any dramatic event has been. Where there has been murders, where there has been people that have high tensions and things that have got up, they leave what I like to call a tape recorder effect. They leave implanted, something that sensitive people can pick up. And it doesn't necessarily mean to say that there is a ghost there. And the implication is, or what I was getting the impression was, that if they are not careful, every airfield tomorrow they will have people going out ghost hunting, which would be silly and a bit disastrous. Dennis McCarthy. Yes, and the Reverend John Finney, I believe you want to come in on that one. Canon John Finney. Yes, I used to be in the Air Force, and I can remember going out when I was night flying, and it is a very, very eerie feeling. Dim red lights. Oh, that's why he's come through. Because he used to be a paratrooper in the Israeli Air Force or Army, but jumping out of planes. That's why you're here. I understand now. Dim red lights, dim blue lights of the runway, and so forth. And a little bit of early morning mist swirling around, and you can see almost anything. At the same time, one has to remember that from those airfields in some cases, obviously, people did take off and didn't come back. And there is those sorts of memories at the back of people's minds, I think, and putting those two together, the slight eerie feel, which was a very understandable thing, and in that sort of area, and plus the memories. And you very, very quickly begin to get the sort of stories. And like Lee, I felt very unhappy about the idea that every airfield was haunted. Dennis McCarthy. But, let's get back to Bruce Halfpenny, because to be fair to Bruce, you have had a lot of stories given to you by many, many people. Oh, yes, I mean Lord Balfour of Incry, who is 90 tomorrow, the Montrose Ghost, all the people are Air Vice Marshals, squadron leaders, absolutely nothing to gain. Oh, excuse me, absolutely nothing to gain. If you would just tell me an airfield where no tragedy took place, then I might believe you. Dennis McCarthy. Are you really saying, Bruce, that there is a ghost on every airfield? I am saying there is a presence or a ghost. Doesn't mean to say that you see a ghost. People have seen half ghosts. They have felt things. They have heard things. Being ex-provost, I then went on to say that on just about all the airfields there were sections which the police dogs would not walk across, and I repeated for them to name me an airfield where no tragedy took place, from the experts Lee Lacey and Canon John Finney. It came down to definition, as stated in Chapter 1. It all comes down to religion, with a capital R. What is definition? For the so-called experts, the dictionary defines definition: to determine, bring to an end. But for Roman Catholicism, it means an official ecclesiastical statement concerning a matter of faith or of morals as pertaining to faith. So we are back to religion, where the supernatural started in the first place. Indeed, although it's not technically supernatural, is it? God is, after all, supernatural. Just saying. Not that I'm a God botherer like I used to be when I was a more religious Jew, but still the ultimate consciousness from which we all are manifested and to which we all belong and to which we all return in various forms. So Canon John Finney, that's my belief system, by the way. I'm not trying to convert anyone. You do you. So Canon, just needed to put that little disclaimer in. So Canon John Finney has nothing to write home about. Let him tell me why there are so many Christian ghosts and ghosts of monks and nuns, all back to religion. On the Ghost Watch program, Dennis read out stories about Hardwick Hall, which was built in Elizabethan times. Sorry, I'm seeing who this person's dogma and background is, and I'm greatly amused by it. Just read quietly between the lines. People are there. But I have no problem with that, because everything ultimately belongs to Source. No matter what path you're on, even the darker paths, all gets returned in the giant melting pot when we enter the next dimension of the source field. Again, my belief system, you do you, which was built in Elizabethan times. In 1976, a couple were riding through Hardwick Park when they saw the figure of a hooded monk in their headlights. The monk wore, thank you Davidson, just said I'm a powerful woman. I wish, if I were really that powerful, I wouldn't be living in Housing Commission on a disability pension with a dicky fucking bladder that's been dicky for years, unable to find a true loving partner, would I? I'd be a raging fucking success, living in much more luxurious circumstances, surrounded by people who actually love me. Well, you have to laugh, don't you? It's all a bit insane, really. But anyway, I do have people who love me very, very much. Professional people who have my back. To you, my darlings. In 1976, I read that. When they were driving through Hardwick Park, when they saw the figure of a hooded monk in their headlights. So you threw me off there. Stop it. Honestly. The monk wore a black habit, and they said his face was brilliant, white. That would freak me out. Just saying. Also, a couple in another car and 2 policemen had seen the ghostly hooded monk. So why all these Christian ghosts? Have they no God? Are they evil? According to Canon Finney, yes. Interesting. After a tour round the other locations and hearing the listeners' ghost stories, Dennis came back to Lincolnshire. Dennis McCarthy. Now we're going to go back to Lincolnshire, an airfield somewhere in Lincolnshire, with our reporter Andy Smith. Andy Smith. And you thought it was cold, Dennis. It's freezing here. There are 5 of us now, and we're all huddled fairly close together. And we do have a woman with us now, so things have certainly improved. Not that close, but people are now saying, where's the drinks cabinet? Where's the whiskey? We've got to warm ourselves up somehow. Still no sightings here at all, I am afraid. But as we were talking earlier, Bruce Halfpenny has written a book about ghosts, and in particular was talking about RAF Hemswell, and the book prompted Dave and Penny Kitchen of Hyington near Lincoln, and Penny is with me at the moment. Take us back to that day in May. What happened? I feel like screaming out, oh yes, they call him the Streak. Sorry, I just had a funny moment there. Penny Kitchen. I got the giggles now. Well, my husband received the book for Christmas, and he read some of the stories to me and the children, and we found them quite evocative. Although I must admit I was quite sceptical, but as the weather got better, we decided, well, there was nothing to lose. We would go and see if there was anything to be seen. We drove up past the hangars to the main runway, and my husband and the children got out. I was still so sceptical, I sat there. And they walked off into the distance. Then suddenly I thought I heard a dog panting and just looked round, but there was nothing, so I dismissed it, until about 2 minutes later I heard it again, and there was nothing there. It was just like a dog panting, which is a rather distinctive sound. Have you ever been owned by a dog? Andy Smith. Then in the distance, the disused hangar and more eerie goings on. Penny Kitchen. Yes, they came back to the car, and I told them what I heard, and it really set the atmosphere, I think. We were prepared for anything then. We turned round and drove up towards the hangar, and there was a light. Well, you could just see a light through the chinks at the top of the hangar, and so we were quite excited, and we stopped the car and looked, and there definitely were lights. Andrew, how many more pages? I need to pee. Okay, I need to pee, and I need a cup of tea. Dear Goddess, write a few more pages. Well, and for a penny and for a pound, literally, that's we're speaking to Penny Kitchen. Yes, they came back to the car and I told them what I heard, and this really set the atmosphere, I think. We were prepared for anything then. We turned round and drove up towards the hangar, and there was a light. Well, you could just see a light through the chinks at the top of the hangar. And so we were very excited, and we stopped the car and looked, and there definitely were lights. Andy Smith. Now, did you tell your friends about this? Penny Kitchen. Yes, we are both teachers. We told our friends at school, and they thought it was hilarious, which they did agree to come and have a look. So we all set off one dark night. Sorry, I better not be breaking by the gods. No, it's fine. Being paranoid. Just looked like it was breaking. It really did. Must have been a trick of the light. Right, where was I? So we all set off one night, walked around the hangar. We were quite a lot braver because there were a lot of us, and we did get out of the car. Andy Smith. Did the dog reappear? Penny. No. The dog has never reappeared, just the lights. There was nothing to do. We had seen them, so we went off home. But I did write to the people who used the hangars as a grain store, and they wrote back to say that they had had trouble with the lights. They couldn't switch them off. Well, that seemed a reasonable explanation, but it also seemed a coincidence that it should be that hangar, the one that we had read about in the book. Andy Smith. You are obviously quite happy to talk about that sort of experience. And if I can just bring John Turner in, who is the secretary of the Lincolnshire Psychic Society, Penny obviously is quite happy to talk about it, but not many people, perhaps some people, don't want to admit they have seen a ghost. Well, that's just stupid, isn't it? Because you've either seen one or you haven't. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It just happens from time to time. John Turner. No, a lot of people won't admit it, mainly because they're frightened of people saying that there was something wrong with them, being called nutcases and things like that. It just shows you how stupid people are. And they tend to bottle it up inside themselves, indeed. Andy Smith. Okay, John, and quickly to Bruce. You're the author of the book, so how do you interpret Penny's recollection? Well, it is as I have said earlier this evening, that every airfield is haunted. You do not necessarily have to see a ghost, as this lady said this evening. She heard a dog panting and there wasn't a dog there. The lights were flashing in the hangar, and this is what I said. Every airfield. Dennis McCarthy. Can I just butt in here, Bruce? For I want you to hang on and hear a call that we have got coming through. From a former duty engineer at RAF Syerston, Val Watmo from Bottisford. Val Watmo. Yes, good evening, Dennis. Going back in 1959, I think it was, late one night, I was on duty. I was called out to one of the hangars because the hangar lights were going on and off, on and off. So, all the RAF police and the guard and the likes thought, hello, we've got an irk in here. Those been out on the drink and having some fun. So the hangar was duly surrounded by the police and police dogs, and we went in through the fire door, which are doors in the centre of the hangar, not the big ones at the end. We had got 2 Alsatians. The doors opened, and the lights were certainly going on and off. The dogs could not be dragged in. No way would they go near the fire doors. Sorry, distracted for a moment. No way would they go near the fire doors, and they were used to going in the hangars. They used to come in normally, quite often. We appeared in the hangar on the right-hand side where the main contactor was, which was used to switch on the power, on and off. When the lights went out, you could see a human side glow. That is the only way I can describe it. It wasn't there. You couldn't pick a person out. You could certainly pick out a glow of somebody there or something there. So we decided that we weren't going to hang about. Certainly wasn't a person, because when the lights came on there was nothing to be seen, so there was nobody lurking there. We closed the hangar doors very quickly, or the fire doors very quickly, which were steel doors, locked them up, and next morning nobody went in there until the padre had been in. And he went into the hangar and eventually came out again, and it was reported that an airman who had been killed, or apparently been killed on the airfield, was responsible. Now, I don't know, I wasn't on duty in the morning, but that is a story that goes. And talking of airfields, one other place that is of interest near RAF Newton is Oakfield Lane, which runs from the A52, top of the A52 at Saxondale, across to Shelford Road. Now that's often used by courting couples. There has been lots of reports. Oh, I've never seen this one, but regularly reported that ghostly sightings have been seen on this road. So there's a couple of things for you. Dennis McCarthy. Thank you very much indeed. Bruce, any comment on that? No, it is just something that bears out everything that I've written in my book and said previously. Dennis McCarthy. What about RAF Syerston? Have you any reports in your book about that one? No, but I have had ones from there that I'm going to use in my new book that comes out next year. Dennis McCarthy. Andy, you were talking about the temperature on that Lincolnshire airfield. You feeling cold? Andy Smith. I think the word is desperate. Dennis McCarthy. Well, you see, some strange things have happened here in the cellar because the temperature gauge isn't making sense at all. It is going up and down, and a few minutes ago it dropped 4 degrees. Andy Smith. I think the main problem is happening here because our mast on the radio car is obviously feeling the cold. I'm going to run out of time. We're 2 hours and 6 minutes in. We've only got an... Oh, no, it's okay. We should make it. It's only 3 or 5 more pages. Dear Goddess. Well, you can give me credit, people of Earth. I'm resilient and intrepid when I'm on a mission, am I not? Have I applied that to my love life? I'd be dangerous. How does that song go? You can just kiss off into the air behind my back. People stare. But I don't mind. I do it all the time. Just having a little moment here. Just felt the need to express myself, not repress myself. Where'd that little dry flower come from? Like, seriously, where has that come from? Oh, the mullein sage. Just appeared on my laptop. Didn't notice that it was broken off. Calling back my soul fragments and my juicy, powerful, beautiful shamanic energies and retrieving it into my body, mind and spirit. I will not be wasting it on vicious, bloodless little curs anymore. Bing, bang, boom, babies. Just saying. Mama T loves you still, but you're not having my energies. For that you shall have to pay in actual gold or silver. Trying to base and humiliate the Mama T. Not wise. Not wise at all. Shut up, Davidson. Say, they need to date you. What? Cost them actual money. Spend money on buying me dinner and courting me. Oh! We haven't done that in 30 odd years. Only users and parasites. It's why I get a little bit pissed off when on top of that they think it's okay to try and debase me. Fuck off. Right, where was I? Nursing my bladder. Nursing my bladder, people there. Swilling in my own. Kidnified. Detoxified. Swishing and swillings. On that note, I'll be back. I'll be back in a moment. Need to detoxify. All better now, people there. All better. Nothing like shedding a old skin that didn't fit and was just fake and confining and putrefying. Right, Andy Smith. I think the same problem is happening here because our mast on the radio car is obviously feeling the cold. It keeps retracting into itself to keep warm, I think. I hope they're talking about an area of some kind, because that sounds a bit sexual, does it not? Dog's nose comes to mind. Never mind, people there. After more listeners' stories, Dennis comes back to us at the Lincolnshire location. Dennis McCarthy. We are now going to our airfield somewhere in Lincolnshire, and our reporter, Andy Smith. Andy Smith. Sorry, Dennis, you just caught me like David Dimbleby, eating a mouthful of nosh. It's a very Jewish thing, calling it nosh. When you came over to me, his name was probably formerly Schmittowski. Ask me how I know. Blessed Harry Smith of blessed memory. I love you, Dr. Smith. But we have been having not in the biblical sense, don't get that. Don't twist that around in your perverted little minds, people there. He's a gentleman, a scholar, a very kind man to me in my temple. Eating a mouthful of nosh, otherwise known in Yiddish as nosherai. When you came over to me there, but we have been having a discussion since our last report, and it is rather strange because, although I didn't sense something happening, John Turner of the Lincolnshire Psychic Research Group said something definitely happened. So John and I think, just explain what happened. John Turner. Well, I saw your reaction first because you turned and looked behind you as you had the feeling that there was something there, and at the same time I felt something pass us very, very quickly from left to right. Andy Smith. Can you describe what it was? John. No, I can't. It passed so fast. I just didn't have a chance to see what it was. Andy. Can you try and sort of work out what this might indicate? John. Whether it was connected with the airfield, I don't know. All I can say is there was something definitely there that passed very, very quickly. Andy, but as I didn't see it, why would I believe it? That man thinks you're magnificent. Whatever. He lies. Anyway. John Turner. Well, you did look round, as if you had the feeling there was someone behind you, and I noticed you looking round as it happened. There's a sharp pain under my jaw again. It's odd, isn't it? Like I'm not developing a cyst. I do that from time to time. Andy, now if you were listening at home you might be thinking, what a load of rubbish. Don't believe it. But our other expert also felt the same thing. Bruce Halfpenny, how would you interpret it? Yes, there was. We were expecting to see something when you say, I didn't see anything. Why should I believe it? The thing is, you don't have to see it, as I said previously, and you felt something. There was a draft, and it was going from left to right. We all looked in the same direction. By this time it had passed over the vehicle. We were all preoccupied with something else. Andy. I've got to sneeze. Sneeze again, people. Dear goddess. Now at the time of our last broadcast, there was no traffic going past at all. So it is obviously not headlights, but the fact we are in a disused airfield. And you were saying, Bruce, that there are earth spirits in disused airfields, wherever they are. Are we perhaps infringing on their ground? How would you interpret? Yes, this is what I should say, that you are definitely infringing on their ground. Yes. Andy, and what about John? John Turner. Yes, I agree completely. You see, this is their home. To them it is their home, and we are strangers in their home. Which makes sense, does it not? Andy. Well, I wonder if anyone else saw it. We asked the questions. Dennis, any ideas at all? Dennis McCarthy. Well, if anybody would like to ring us on Nottingham 343434, which I doubt is a real number, by the way, just saying, don't try calling it. It's back in the 80s anyway. A long time defunct by now. We would be glad to put them on the air, Andy. Andy Smith. Okay, but at the moment it's all quiet. The lights over the other side of the airfield have all gone out. So we're certainly almost the only civilization on here. After stories from the other locations and stories from listeners, Dennis McCarthy returned to us in Lincolnshire. Dennis. We are now going over to Lincolnshire to an airfield somewhere. Oh, why do we have to have all this poppycock nonsense? It's starting to irritate me, people of Earth. How many pages have I got left? We may not even have enough time to complete this chapter, which will be very annoying. Andy, yes, hello Dennis. I think at this point we can reveal the location. To do that for me is Bruce Barrymore Halfpenny, who is an author. And do we have to keep hearing that all the time? Bruce. I'm sensing grandiose narcissism here. You're starting to grind my gears. Except he's dead now, so he can't grind my gears any more than necessary, can he? Now we've been talking about its history throughout the evening, the RAF Fiskerton airfield. I'm just skimming across because it's getting on my nerves. Don't know about you, but it's driving me bats. During the last few minutes, a group has tracked down our location, come onto the airfield, and has said that there were a few flashes and possibly bangs from the area, which we think is the observation core. That's right, which is a purpose-built site that we have on the other section of the airfield, one of the old dispersal pans. Andy. Now, there have been some strange sightings there as well, haven't there? Yes, they've had 2 or 3 that have been substantiated. A phantom officer has been seen in the complex, but, of course, owing to security reasons, it is not possible to substantiate this. And, of course, naturally, these have been denied. But they are by people involved in the complex, and the sightings have been positive. Andy. Why do you think that the Ministry of Defence is so coy about it and doesn't really want to be drawn into the issue? It's just something they cannot admit to, actually. Andy. Let's have a quick chat with John Turner. Blah, blah, blah. Now that we've revealed the location, what sort of stories would you like to bring out as we draw towards the close of our Lincolnshire Ghost Watch? John Turner. Well, I personally had one very interesting experience. I was going to bed very late one night. It was about 2:30 in the morning, and myself and my wife had just got into bed and we heard aircraft engines. Now, once you heard a Merlin engine, you never forget it. And this was a Merlin engine, and it was coming closer and closer and getting louder and louder. And I was quite convinced that, in actual fact, it was going to crash into the house. It was obvious it was getting lower as it got nearer, and then it seemed to pass just over the roof, and then suddenly the noise of the engines. Don't bother. No, thank you. Good afternoon. Bloody politicians. And then suddenly the noise of the engines just cut out. They didn't fade. They just stopped completely. And my first reaction was, oh, it's crashed. But there was nothing to be found. And later on, I mentioned this to someone who had been in the Home Guard at the time during the war, and he remembered actually being called out to guard a crashed aircraft which had crashed in a field only about 100 yards from the house. Sorry, I'm just amused at how I have to whip them all into line. It's like very annoying actually. But he was a good sport about it. We waved congenially goodbye. Labour representative. Andy Smith. Now, you heard the engine, but did anyone else hear it? It's like sport. It's like blood sports, isn't it? It's almost like watching the tennis. None of them will win against me, people. They genocided my species. Never forget that. Ever, ever. They cost me my grandchildren. Unforgivable. John Turner. Well, my wife did. I mean, we both heard it quite clear, to be quite honest. We were scared to start with because we were convinced it was going to crash into the house. It was that low. Andy Smith. Now we were talking about sensing, that psychic powers are in evidence. Is it just yourself and your wife who are able to sense this engine going across, or were various people around your locality saying we heard it as well? What's today? What day is it today? So, just a wee moment here. Tuesday. Pizza day. Will they order a pizza or not, people there? Too fat. Just had my soup I made last night. John Turner. Well, we have never heard of anyone else. It was as far as... This will be another annoying bloody Labour representative. Just crawl away people there. Or it's possible that it's possible that that was my appointment. Oh, they can leave a message. Well, we never heard of anyone else. It was, as far as I know, just the two of us. Andy Smith. I just quickly want to bring in what we've been talking about when we haven't been on air about it. Not being a gift. We're running out of time. I'll deal with that later. That you can sense these powers. How would you describe it? Like, I only bloody contacted them like 4 fucking hours ago, so they can wait. I'm annoyed. Can you tell I'm annoyed? Anyway, things happen in their own time, in their own season, for their own reason. I can philosophize myself out of a brown paper bag. It's the only thing that keeps me sane sometimes. It's the reason why I don't go to work, people there. John Turner. It's not a gift. Everyone has the ability if they're prepared to develop it. You have got to go about developing it, and you must do it under supervision as well. Andy Smith. Obviously brings us round to what Dennis was saying about you mustn't dabble in the supernatural. John. Oh, no, definitely not. Can be dangerous to dabble. You must do it under supervision. That supervision of another medium. Andy. Well, that's the position so far on the Fiskerton airstrip in Lincolnshire. Hardly any lights on at all now. Pardon me. The mist is still all round the car, but no more activity. We'll bring you up to date on that flash that we told you about just after 11 o'clock. See if we can think of any possible reason. It might even happen again. I'm kind of laughing at myself, sorry, just having a moment here. We don't know. We've still got 20 minutes to go, but that's it from Lincolnshire Ghost Watch at the moment. I'm a powerful woman when I get enraged about something. Like a genocide of my people. Dennis then gives stories about haunted mines from the area. Read out a story from the Nottingham Evening Post, dated Thursday, 8th of October 1987, and the Ghostland Theatre, and about a theatre ghostbuster who was the only one to mention ghoulie on the programme, and his definition of a ghost was, well, ghosts, apparitions, whatever you want to call them, are basically, very, very basically, the principle is, it's almost like photography, if you like, a negative imprint that's left on the Earth's atmosphere by somebody who's passed away. Can't get much more negative than you, David Davidson, mofo. Well, he just said other people would beg to differ. Well, other people didn't know you like I knew you. I want to sing if you knew Susie like I knew Susie. Oh, 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 what a girl. Yes, I got haunted on her passing by my former boss named Susie too. What is it about people that just don't want to let go of me, no matter how long, how separate the distance of time is? They pop in to me before they pass to the next dimension. Say goodbye. Sweet, isn't it? Kind of, sort of. Depends on the relationship, of course. But she was all right, Susie. I was rather fond of Susie, actually. Mad cow, as mad as I am. Complex PTSD survival from prejudicial childhood. Came out in her book, explained everything. Wish she'd just told me that, would have saved a lot of misunderstandings. But anyway, I managed her quite well. I managed her, people there. As a young girl working as a waitress in her coffee shop. I had to bloody manage that woman. It was like 49 at the time. Been doing this a long time, dealing with lunatics, people who are not quite right, not well, not cricket, and often not fucking kind. It's not my journey, it's your stuff. Deal with your shit, don't bring it to my front door. I've been in therapy for 30 years to deal with my god-awful, repetitive, cumulative, pernicious, never-ending shit. That's why now I'm throwing a bit of a bloody wobbly. It's just a little bit too much. But yes. A negative imprint that's left on the Earth's atmosphere by somebody who's passed away, but really didn't want to go, that really wanted to linger in the place where they were most happy. And very simply, that's what a ghost is. Dennis then came back for the close of the program. Andy Smith. Yes, and it's still very cold here, I must admit. I'm glad we've come to the end of our 3 hours of watching, and it has been eventful. I'm going to have to speed this up by the gods. Because as we mentioned earlier, just after 11 o'clock there was that flash, and just to briefly recap, here's John. John Turner. Yes, it was something that went past very, very fast. I didn't have a chance to see what it was. We were all aware of it, which I'm rather glad that it's not just me aware of it. As I say, we were all aware of it. It was too fast. But whilst I've been here tonight, a name keeps coming back to me, and the name is Travers, and the rank Wing Commander. Now, I've told that to Bruce, and I understand he will look into it. Andy, is there any reason why this should suddenly just come to you? John, none that I know of. Andy, not connected with this flash perhaps. John, no, just come since that. It's just the name Travers and the rank of Wing Commander. Andy, let's go to Bruce Barrymore Halfpenny, the author and RAF ghost expert. What do you make of that? What I will do now is check the files to see if there is anyone by that name that's been on the airfield when it was operational. Oh, I've got terrible pain under here. I'm due to see the dentist again, by the gods. Don't think I can wait much longer. Writhing in fucking agony over stupidity all the time. I'm sick of being trapped in this body with nothing but malfeasant, awful people who fake love from me. It grinds my gears. There, I've said it out loud. Now we'll carry on with our story, because I do have wonderful people who genuinely do care for me. So it's swinging on the fucking chandeliers with a sore jaw right now. Did you hear that bump? And another bump. And I haven't even got the aircon on. Andy, are you hopeful that something will come from this? Because I know you have a lot of people that told you lots of information, and in most cases you have been able to prove it. That's right, it's been most rewarding actually, and it's been very nice to know that we have not upset anyone. Andy, now we've spent 3 hours here, there was that flash. Are you disappointed that there wasn't something a bit more concrete coming out across the airfield? Well, it's not a matter of being disappointed. It is a matter of just coming here. As I say, it's impossible to come and expect to see something or feel something. Dennis. Andy, thank you very much indeed. And will you thank your guests there for braving the elements? I think we could say tonight. They brought to an end the Ghost Watch program, so let us sum up the outcome of it all. And after having listened to all the waffle from the experts in Nottingham, I was very pleased that I had not put forward my theory of a time zone. Let us remember, they claim to be the experts, and never once did any of the experts say one magic word. Not even the man of the cloth. I was right about him. I'm always right. People could already see that coming. I hate that I'm intelligent. It's both a blessing and a curse. Just saying. To give you a chance as you read through the book, I have refrained from using it until the end page to see if you know what little word the experts failed to use. Remember, you are reading a book about superstition, so do not look now. Wait until you get to the end page. You have been warned. Lee Lacey talked about good and bad spirits. Diane Blatherwick said about the power of suggestion. Canon John Finney rambled on about people wanting to contact a consultant like himself and said there are three classes of power. There is the power of God and of goodness. There is the human power. We can hate, we can love, sometimes in equal measure, and so on. And I threw in that bit about the equal measure. People are there. And there is also the power of evil. From the experts, no mention of religion. It all comes down to religion. Canon Finney said with suicides, all are evil, which proves that he's fucking evil. It's got nothing to do with being evil. It's merely a defiance against all the awfulness in someone's life comes to a head and you can't take it anymore. Well, that was in my case anyway. It's a mental health issue, not a question of evil, you bloodless curs. It's typical of that Christian Catholic dogma, isn't it? No understanding, no compassion, no light and no love. Dr. Gareth Bennett, the churchman who committed suicide, is he now evil? According to Canon Finney, he is. Well, Canon Finney can just rotate on that. But, the newspaper said, death of a Christian. So the church ought to be asking itself a few questions. Why would a Christian who's so protected by their dogma want to suicide? Why indeed? Dennis McCarthy asked Diane Blatherwick a very good question, and that was, why are ghosts so reluctant to make themselves known when we have such a setup as we have tonight? Microphones, cameras and investigators. Because you're trying too bloody hard, that's why. They pop in when they want to. Just ask Davidson Diva. He'll tell you. Why won't the ghost appear as a guest? Well, I think it is as Lee Lacey said, there is too much going on, replied Diane Blatherwick. But why won't they show themselves? Why are they so reluctant? Asked Dennis. I don't know, she said. Maybe they will. Well, they never did at the Derbyshire location. No sightings of Humphrey, the ghost in the malt shovel. Nothing unusual happened at all, said reporter Gary Andrews. At the Nottingham location, no logical explanation for the drop in temperature. For the drop in temperature, Lee Lacey said he was aware of a presence. Only an awareness. I didn't see of a presence standing behind your producer in that corner, he quickly added. Lacey also talked about a mirror image, whatever that is, and a tape recorder effect gets left, imprinted in the bricks. Confused? Well, I was. What about people who were buried in open ground? No telltale bricks to tell the dastardly deed. Is it all done with mirrors? With the drop in the temperature, Canon Finney was asked if there was anything. He then rambled on. Remember, he is a man of God. That where there had been violent incidents, suicides and such like, there is a feeling of disease. I think they mean dis-ease. Should be a hyphen in that, people are there. Till in the name of Christ, they are told to get lost. Get lost? I ask you, Dennis McCarthy. Then asked Canon Finney, does that assume that everything there is evil? Yes, replied Canon Finney. What a limited worldview he must have. What a sorry individual he must be. What a complete moron. Apart from the fact that he's a man of God, I don't take issue with that. You know, I used to be a woman of God in a sense, not a rabbi or anything. You know, no accreditation, but I was quite the little God bother in my day. I still am in my own quiet way. And who's this putting up in front of my house? Oh, just someone politely giving way. Civilized. I ask you, Dennis McCarthy, is everything there is evil? Yes, replied Canon Finney, who's now irritated me beyond belief. Can't deal with such level of bigotry and ignorance and bigotry and stupidity. My answer to that, mind you, this book was written in the 80s and there was a lot they still didn't know back then, people who chose not to know. My answer to that is in chapter 1. It's all back to religion. If you can understand it, it must be evil, say the Christians. But that is not the case. It does not have to be evil. Only religion made it evil. High five on that one. I agree with him there. So the outcome of it all proves one thing. What I said in my first chapter is right. It comes down each time to religion. And all is not evil. Or is it? Religion did not help the 3 priests who attempted to exorcise the Cunian ghost, for they suffered rather badly. One from a nervous breakdown, another from spinal meningitis, and the third from facial paralysis. Dear Goddess, that's intense. So in that case, evil triumphed over good. But was it evil? The man interviewed at the Murphy family said the ghost did not bother him. It was religion that lost. Obviously, the 3 priests did not say the magic words. Get lost. And thus concludes today's reading of 2 chapters, which became a bit of a strain in the mind, people there, but only because I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit tired with a dicky bladder and a wolf woman's attitude of surviving to thriving and overcoming all obstacles that get in my way, including cruel, sadistic men and their hench persons, however they manifest. and overcoming my own limitations and my own failings and my own jewellery making, which I don't want to think about today. Still sobbing about that. Waiting for my fine silver to arrive so I can have another go at that, people of Earth. And carrying on. Looking forward to some wonderful future that is even more oblique and delusional than my love life was. Sad, isn't it? It's enough to drive a woman to suicide. But you'll not take me alive, says she. You won't take me dead either. I'm brought back ever more powerful, staunch, stoic, determined, blessed by the gods, daughter of the gods that I am. What am I going to do about my sore jaw though? It's a bit odd. Anyway, have a wonderful afternoon. It's now 4:37 p.m. on the 22nd of April 2025. Blessed be, and remember, as always, never ever let the bastards grind you down. Hold your head up high and live your best life, and carry some sort of seed or spark to conflagrate for our beautiful future and our beautiful lives, however we manifest that, with harm to none, competition with none. So it is done. Bye for now, gorgeous ones. My fellow Homo sapiens sapiens. What's left of us after we've all had our DNA altered by the COVIDian sickness of our times. Where do we go from that, people of Earth? I honestly don't know. But the Holy One, blessed be, has her, their name, forever and ever, from generation to generation. Will heal us, will find a way to heal us, I guess. It's like believing in fairy tales too, but well, I used to be a god botherer. I even have him emblazoned on my arm, so we must keep hope alive. Hope, Kadima. Hope, the last vestige of a dying civilization. But on a happy note, it's 4:38 now. The sun's slowly going down. It's been a glorious day, and I spent the last 2 hours and 48 minutes reading to you when I could have been out in the sunshine. You understand? But it was a choice I made, and no regrets. I enjoyed the sunshine this morning and the kookaburras. So all is not lost and all is not wasted, and blessed be.